Hey everyone, I'm Gil, or Arbitrary Rain, and this is my recording of a perfect run through Nightmare Mode of the 10 Bells. It took me 4 attempts to finally get this, and I'm really excited that I actually accomplished it. Just to set some expectations, I will walk through each attempt and generally, with some exceptions, only run when I've identified an anomaly or am transitioning between attempts. I also will not specifically highlight what I'm looking for until we see an anomaly because I think it's important to get an idea of the rhythm. Anyway, starting out, the first attempt is always normal and establishes a baseline. Of course, if you don't know what you're looking for exactly yet, you can just fly through and hope for the best. The game only has a few quote unquote rules, one of which being that you will only get a normal pass through without any anomalies once, before you must encounter an anomaly on your next pass. However, and this has only happened to me on 2 runs so far, the game will sometimes give you 2 normal passes through the bar. This seems to only happen at the start though, but it really messes with your rhythm, and ultimately you are compelled to just go with your gut. Alright, at this point we definitely will encounter an anomaly. Wait for it. And there it is, the old switcheroo. The bartender should never be on the barmaiden side. I made sure to focus on the anomaly names rather than run past them, if only to make putting this video together much easier. Much to my surprise, the game is showing me the normal ending, the one you get when you first complete the 10 bells, after seeing only one anomaly. It's pretty gruesome, despite only happening in audio, so feel free to mute until I pass through the door if you are uncomfortable. At this point, the game will display any anomalies I've seen so far, but reset my progress as it's displayed above the bar on the bartender side. This is honestly fine since I find it jarring when it happens much later and I finish nightmare mode on like 4 bells. This will of course be a completely normal pass since the game just restarted. Not to spoil anything, but I'm done with double normals for the remainder of the run. One of the more frustrating aspects of looking for anomalies is examining the bartender and barmaiden, since they actually have animations that may not line up with your progress through an attempt. However, I'm not saying this is a design flaw or anything. It just gets old as you get further through a run. For anomalies like these, it can really catch you off guard when you found nothing else and are basically just heading out, even if you know there has to be an anomaly in this pass. I've left normal passes in, if only to demonstrate that there are no edits, and this is indeed a perfect run through the game. However, I hope as you see more of these, it becomes evident what I'm looking at each time I walk through, and how I prepare myself for discovering one of the less obvious anomalies. Sort of following up on my minor complaint about having to watch the bartender closely, it comes as a relief when I finally see what I'm looking for. In this case, the orange rag instead of green, and I can finally let go of one of my 5 million checks on each pass. Here we come upon one of the easiest anomalies to miss, the missing cues behind the chair in the corner. I like the name of this one, Cueless, as I assume it is a reference to the movie Clueless, which is a classic from my childhood in the 90s. This is another great example of an easy to miss anomaly, the incorrect time on the clock. However, I want to point out that as long as you always make sure to check the clock on your way out, the difference in the time will be really obvious because both hands are in very different positions than normal. It would be worse if the difference was like a few minutes or something. Like the clock in Time of Death, this is another one that is actually obvious, but only if you know to keep checking for it. The rug design is vastly different here. Also, if you miss seeing it under the billiards table, there's another one under the table at the far wall of that room. This one is easily the hardest anomaly to notice, especially with the bloom lighting effects turned on. The curtains are black instead of gold. At least all of the curtains are different and not just a select few, but this anomaly has messed up a bunch of runs for me. Yep, those books are covered in slime. You could easily miss this one if you don't think to check for anomalies literally as soon as you walk in. Another minor complaint, I wish they came up with a wittier name for this one than slime books. Oh well. If you are doing a perfect run, you will finally know peace once you cross the 10 bell threshold, which I did on the last pass. I do actually like the incremental ringing of the bells when you were just trying to get the normal ending, that is, getting to 10 bells. But on these long runs, you'll be so happy to be done hearing them for long stretches of time. Ocean of Blood is a pretty easy anomaly to notice as soon as you walk through the door and further on. There are a lot of paintings impacted by this one, demonstrated here, so you'd really need to be flooring it through the bar to miss it entirely. If it isn't clear already, I'm not focusing on the changes happening in the bathroom hallway, since they only really matter when you're finishing the base game. That said, I do use the splashes of blood on the walls to know that I haven't messed up. The feeling of shame and sadness when I mess up and see perfectly clean walls is immeasurable. This anomaly, the bell under the back foot of the billiards table, is easy to miss. However, now that we found this one and the missing cues, we are done inspecting this specific corner, and you'll see that I skip it on future passes. Knowing when you are done checking specific areas of the bar is a great relief when doing a run like this. You can finally cross something off of your mental checklist. A warning though, it's very easy to accidentally cross other close by areas if you aren't organizing your thoughts well and get too relaxed. It has certainly happened to me. Like slime books, it's trivial to ignore the corner of this booth. The first time I noticed this anomaly actually was because I heard the heads breathing while I was looking around nearby. Here we find that the gentleman's portrait is missing his signature mutton chops. And that's what the anomaly is called. Top tier, in my opinion. Like Ocean of Blood, the excuse is easy to find as soon as you walk in, and it does feature on multiple paintings throughout the bar. But since it's just thin writing, it's easier to miss than red water. My only tip for this one is look up when you cross the barmaiden side of the bar. That said, this is the only anomaly at the top of this specific pillar. It's a funny one though, the way it constantly moves away from you. And of the anomalies featuring this spirit, this one isn't a threat. This is what I'd call an event anomaly, where there's no way you can miss it, mainly because of the discordant harp sound. Other event anomalies put you in danger or impede your progress, which you'll see later on. This one is super easy to miss, and I have repeatedly until I started checking this painting. In case you miss it on my normal passes, the young lady is usually just ignoring the man, but here he is fed up and kills her. Once again, I'm happy to report that we can cross another area off of our checklist. We are done looking at the booth specifically. There are other anomalies that manifest in it, but they are not unique to it, and we can spare ourselves the extra seconds. Mouth of Hell is also easy to miss since the bell in the fireplace is rather small. But once you notice it, you are treated to this cute sequence. This one doesn't put you in danger. I should note that once you discover anything off, you can run back. You don't have to wait for these sequences or animations. Honestly, I think if you only suspect there's an anomaly, you can just walk out, but you really should confirm. If it isn't immediately apparent, we are in danger, and going back from whence you came is the only way to return to safety for this event. Well, hey, little guy. This one doesn't pose a threat, but if you are literally running through the bar, you actually might miss its precious little scooting noises. Here we are looking at something looking right back at us. This is the only anomaly that is specific to these taps. All other anomalies with the taps will appear on both sides of the bar. Here is the first time I almost messed up the run. All of the pillars are twisted 45 degrees, but I didn't notice it until reaching the other side of the bar. This is why it's nice that some anomalies manifest in multiple places. Be wary of the ones that don't. I won't lie to you and say this anomaly is super obvious, but I did catch it the first time I came across it. My tip for this one is to remember that the white cue ball is supposed to be on the doorway side of the billiards table. This is also the only anomaly for this table that you can miss. There's another one that is an event, so don't worry about it. I hate this anomaly. Not because it's bad. It's actually a very good one that raises your heart rate quite a bit as you carefully stealth your way out of the bar. Rather, it is very challenging to judge your hitbox with respect to the bells. Touch one and she chases you. Good luck. This is that obvious anomaly for the billiards table. The strategy for getting out of this one alive is to use the billiards table to split off from the bartender. I think cutting around the pillars would be too risky. I always feel some kind of way when I pass the bartender after one of his anomalies. It's like, hey bro, sup? Remember when you tried to kill me? Good times, man, good times. All I can say for this one is that there should be 4 sets of taps. In this anomaly, there are only 3. You might start noticing getting smaller around this point. I think this anomaly is actually quite clever because, in my opinion, you could just run through the whole bar without thinking of your size whatsoever. My personal tell is the barrel table at the end of the room. You should be able to see the top of it. If you can't, get out. Let me know in the comments if you missed that one. It literally always startles me. I like this anomaly in theory, but I find the floating anchored head kinda goofy. Anyway, this is the only anomaly in the display case, so we're done with that. The taps should be facing the bartender, or if you're on the other side, the barmaid. Even in Victorian era England, customers were generally not permitted to pour themselves beer, but I've heard stranger things. As I recall, the bartender does not pose a threat here. However, when you find him blocking the way back, this can be confusing. Just go to the other side and back once again to keep moving along. Finally, my efforts to check the exit slash foyer have paid off, and I can finally leave it out of my rotation. Similar to the billiards table, there is another anomaly there, but it's unavoidable. This one, understandably, always catches me off guard. Sometimes if I'm still inspecting the display case, it'll just happen in the periphery and I'll have missed the shock of it. This is another one of those that's only readily apparent if you keep checking this area. Whether or not you remember if the hatch is supposed to be open, the bloody handprint kind of seals the deal, and then you get up close for the event. Two events in the back corner. What can I say? Keep in mind that there shouldn't be anything of note on this back table. There is only one more anomaly in this corner, and actually in this section of the barmaiden side. In contrast to the light tread, I actually love this anomaly. It's kind of silly, and most of it does not pose a threat. However, watch out for the last spell by the pillar as you leave. The fact that it catches fire should serve as a warning. There should always be a white stool on either side of the bar. So if you miss this one, you should catch it on the other side. This anomaly doesn't make any noise at all, so just make sure to always check that rug. With that and Mutton Chops down, we are done with this booth. Let me know in the comments if you missed that one too. Okay, so this anomaly is interesting, and the way I identify it, which is the glare appearing on the clock face, is not the easiest method. That would be if you walk next to it, you will see it is angled away from the wall. The next method would be to walk, not run, towards the cellar or the hallway in the hopes that you hear it falling behind you. That one comes with risk though. Death from above always freaks me out, and I've died to it a few times from panicking. Just start running back towards the hallway as soon as you hear this stone grinding noise. Given that you're not supposed to hear much of anything, any new sound is typically assigned to run back anyway. The chairs are upside down. Note that this is only on the bartender side, so if you aren't looking, you'll miss it easily. Opposite to the upside down, one of the chairs on this table is not upside down like usual. I think the name, the Prodigal Chair, is kind of odd, but I like saying it in my head when I inspect the table. That is also the only anomaly for that table. You'll see that I now pass that little area a little more quickly. Once again, the bartender is unusually obsessed with us. The first cue for this, similar to others, is sound. If you are running, you might not catch it in time. Similar to the light tread, you want to move between the puddles, but it's easier than that anomaly. You will drown if you touch them. This is kind of a forest for the trees situation. I know and you know the walls on the Bard Maiden side should be green, but if you're only looking at very specific objects and sites, you might not notice this. This specific anomaly is why you should always check the cellar side of the hallway before you leave. Like Mouth to Hell, you don't have to inspect it, but the little jump scare here is cute. You don't have to examine every light in the bar, just this very last one at the end of the barmaiden side. It should be off. I did read that there is another light that could be on instead, but I never saw it. With that out of the way, we are done inspecting that part of the room. The bartender is missing his mustache. This is the last anomaly specific to him behind the bar, so we no longer have to look at him at all. There are almost no coasters on this first table. The anomaly actually manifests on all the tables, resulting in fewer coasters overall, but this is the most glaring omission to spot, in my opinion. Here I'll note that we are done looking at those first tables and this entrance area entirely, but not this side of the bar. Oh, hey girl. From my own experimentation, she does not pose a threat to you, but she sure looks like she does. You can see the anomaly coming up on the right side here, but it doesn't matter. Because this is an event anomaly, and you will have to deal with it to survive anyway. You could, of course, just leave as soon as you spot the spirit in the exit. Regardless, after Can't Leave, we are done even looking at the bar exit until the end. This is another one of those walk, don't run anomalies where it's assured you'll notice it if you're not hurrying out. From my experience, you are not actually in danger. After the final curtain, this is the second easiest anomaly to miss, primarily because you do have to get a good look at the barmaiden, who is often not facing you. And it requires noticing that a white woman is whiter. Technically, she's bluer, but your ability to notice may vary. At this point, we are done looking at the barmaiden at all. This anomaly is not only unavoidable, but you have to go through all of it to be allowed to leave. You can die if you step in the water, so run up the stairs and just wait. I think some people may also just be in such a hurry to get out, they may forget to go back to the entrance and leave the wrong way by accident. Maybe not. I am not a psychologist. Finally, we encountered a second time I almost messed up the run, and so close to the end too. If you track back, you'll actually see the big coffin-shaped blood stain on the ceiling as I pass through the bartender's side, but I got a little too relaxed and cocky. As a result, we miss the bloody body that pops out of the stain when you catch it right. With that, though, we are now officially done checking the bartender's side for anomalies. Normally, this flyer on the wall behind the billiards table is for a trolley carriage, but now it's advertising the car, a modern invention. Trust me when I say I was so annoyed having to keep checking for this up until now. And at 92 bells, we're done with this run, and we're seeing the true ending. I find the barmaiden's smile a bit off-putting here. According to guides I read, when you get the true ending on Nightmare, the bartender is supposed to be blocking the exit, so I think the fact that he's not is a bug. I won't spoil this part with any commentary, so wait for the credits. Thank you so much for joining me for this proud achievement. Funnily enough, there is no specific achievement for doing a perfect run, just identifying all the anomalies and getting the true ending. I wanted to do this, truthfully, to see how many bells I could get on that final pass. If it wasn't for the reset in the middle, it would have been 95. Anyway, this was an awesome project, and I'm looking forward to bringing more special gaming videos to this channel. See you soon!